All right, welcome back. We've made it. This is the final chapter of Genesis, the epic conclusion to the incredible story of Joseph and his family. We're at the end of the road, and this chapter, wow, it is all about forgiveness, grief, and seeing God's master plan even when it's really, really hard to see. So let's jump right in. The chapter opens, and boom, it hits you with this incredibly powerful cinematic moment. I want you to picture the scene. Jacob, the great patriarch, has just taken his last breath. And Joseph, this is the guy who's basically running Egypt, the second most powerful man in the world, he just breaks. He's not a governor in this moment, he's just a son, absolutely overcome with grief, weeping for the father he was ripped away from all those years ago. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the father's tearful goodbye, then witness an unbelievable royal funeral. From there, the tension ratchets up with the brother's greatest fear, which leads to this amazing moment of forgiveness. And finally, we'll see how it all points to God's plan and a final promise. It's a real journey from heartbreak to hope. Okay, so we're inside the royal palace in Egypt, and the air is just thick with sorrow. Jacob, also called Israel, is gone, and the sound of Joseph's weeping just echoes through the room. This isn't some quiet, stiff upper lip sadness. No, this is a deep, soul-shaking grief. It really marks the end of an era for this family. Then Joseph does something pretty extraordinary. He orders the royal physicians to have his father embalmed. Now you gotta understand, this was not a normal thing for the Hebrews. This was an Egyptian practice, and it was a massive honor, usually only for pharaohs and the absolute top-tier royalty. This one act just screams how much respect not only Joseph, but the entire nation of Egypt had for his father, Jacob.
And this grief wasn't just a private family matter. It became a full-blown national event. An official period of mourning starts across all of Egypt, and all this builds up to one of the most spectacular funeral processions you could possibly imagine.
Just look at this timeline for a second. This was no quick goodbye. The embalming process alone took 40 days. And get this, the whole nation of Egypt mourned for 70 days. 70! This wasn't just a family affair, it was basically a state funeral, showing just how important and influential Jacob's family had become.
Okay, try to picture this in your mind. This wasn't just a funeral. It was like a massive diplomatic mission of honor. Imagine a caravan stretching for miles across the desert. You've got Joseph and his family, sure, but you've also got Pharaoh's top officials, the elders of Egypt, and a whole military escort of chariots and horsemen. All of this for a shepherd from another land. It's an incredible spectacle as they travel all the way back to Canaan to bury him in the family cave.
So the burial is over, and the whole procession heads back to Egypt. But as they travel, the solemn mood of grief starts to shift. A dark cloud of anxiety and tension begins to brew among Joseph's brothers, and the story is about to take a huge, dramatic turn. Right here, this is the fact that changes everything. Jacob was the glue, the one holding this very fragile, complicated family together. As long as he was alive, the brothers kind of felt safe. But now, with him gone, that protection has just vanished.
You have to see this from their perspective. The fear is just building and building. You can almost hear the whispers starting among them. Their father was the only shield standing between them and the powerful brother they had betrayed so horribly, and now they are completely, 100% at Joseph's mercy. This is the question that's just eating them alive. They remember, clear as day, what they did. Throwing him in a pit, selling him into slavery, lying about it for decades. They're probably thinking, you know what? Maybe his forgiveness was just a show, just for Dad's sake. Maybe now he's going to get his revenge? And there it is, their absolute greatest fear, laid bare. They're projecting all of their own guilt onto Joseph, assuming he must be thinking the same way they would. They are terrified that the bill for their past sins has finally come due. The stage is set for a massive emotional confrontation. But think about Joseph's character for a minute. He just fulfilled a super serious promise, an oath, to his father, traveling hundreds of miles to bury him exactly where he asked. This is a man who keeps his word. But the brothers, they're so blinded by their own fear and guilt, they can't see the faithful man standing in front of them. They only see the powerful ruler they're terrified of.
So the brothers cook up this plan. They're way too scared to go to Joseph directly, so first they send a messenger with a message, basically saying, hey, before Dad died, he said you have to forgive us. Then
They show up themselves and fall down at his feet, offering to be his slaves. It's a desperate move.
And right here, this is the turning point of the whole chapter. Joseph's reaction, is it anger? Is it a smug, I told you so? No, he weeps. He just starts crying. And you have to ask why. It's because his heart is breaking. After all these years, after everything they've been through together, they still don't get it. They still live in fear of him. They don't understand the depth of his forgiveness, and that just crushes him.
His first words to them are just, incredible. Do not be afraid. He immediately puts their biggest fear to rest. And then he asks this profound question, am I in the place of God? He's basically saying, who am I to judge you? Who am I to take revenge? That's God's job, not mine. It shows this unbelievable humility.
And then Joseph pulls back the curtain and reveals the single most important lesson from his entire unbelievable life story. He shares the perspective that allowed him to let go of all the bitterness and choose forgiveness instead of revenge.
This right here, this is the heart of the entire story of Joseph. He looks his brothers in the eye, and he delivers this world-changing truth bomb. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. He sees both things at once. He totally acknowledges their evil plan, but then he points to a bigger, divine plan that was working behind the scenes the entire time. Their horrible choice to sell him as a slave was flipped on its head by God and used to save their entire family and all of Egypt from a devastating famine. It's just mind-blowing.
So the chapter then fast-forwards through the rest of Joseph's life. He lives to be 110 years old. He gets to see his children, his grandchildren, and even his great-grandchildren. He lived a long, full life, but you get the sense his heart was never fully at home in Egypt.
On his deathbed, Joseph gathers his family. And he doesn't talk about his power or his palaces in Egypt. He talks about the future. He reminds them of God's promise to give them the land of Canaan. And then he makes them swear an oath, a solemn promise. When God finally brings you all home, don't you dare leave me here. Carry my bones up from this place. Even in death, his faith was fixed on a promise he knew he wouldn't live to see.
Joseph's story doesn't end with revenge or bitterness. It ends with a reassurance and a promise for the future. He left his family a legacy of hope. And this whole chapter really makes you stop and ask yourself, what kind of legacy are my choices creating for the people in my life? One of hope or one of fear?
You know, the story of Joseph isn't just some ancient tale. It gives us a really powerful tool to improve our own character. In Jewish thought, our character traits are called midot. Think of them as our inner dimensions. And Joseph's amazing ability to see God's bigger picture, that's a midah, a character trait that we can actually learn to develop in ourselves.
So here it is, this week's Middo Challenge, inspired by Joseph himself. It's called the Bigger Picture Perspective. The next time you feel hurt, or you feel like something is just totally unfair, Step 1, just pause. Don't react right away. Step 2, ask yourself this question. Is it possible that even one good thing could come from this situation? Step 3, focus on that one tiny seed of potential good, no matter how small. And finally, Step 4, like Joseph, make a conscious choice to choose compassion over anger. It's not about pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about finding a bigger purpose inside the pain. Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.